Hi, I'm Chris, and today I wanted to take a quick moment to chat with you about what I like to call staggered test prep testing. And what that means is this specifically applies to high school students who are preparing to take their SATs and ACTs. If you're planning on taking one test or the other, then you can plan out your testing schedule without having to worry about going back and forth between the tests. But if you're planning on taking both exams, oftentimes what I notice with students, particularly students who are looking to really achieve very high competitive scores for competitive schools, if you're trying to maximize your SAT or ACT score, it's really important that you stick with one test until you feel like you've maximized your score on that particular exam, and then switch gears to prepare for the other test. Unfortunately, the way that the tests are offered during the year, especially in the spring, which is when most juniors are testing, the exams are offered SAT in January, ACT in February, SAT in March, ACT in April, SAT in May, and then June offers both exams to round out the school year. And a lot of times, even college advisors will suggest that you should take all of those different exams on all of those different test dates, or that you should test almost as much as possible, because from an advising perspective, it's good to have a lot more testing results that you can work with for a particular student to help that student find where they can maximize their scores and package that application together with the highest score possible to get into the best college. And that's the job of a college advisor, so I certainly understand that recommendation. However, when you're actually preparing for those exams, so much of performing well really comes down to making sure that you're able to master the pacing of a particular test, master the way that you approach the question types that you see on each individual exam. And for students who are constantly going back and forth, they're taking an SAT in January, then an ACT in February, and SAT in March, by constantly switching back and forth, you're never really able to maximize your comfort level with one test. And by going back and forth, you actually oftentimes end up minimizing your ability to really see the best score possible, because you're getting more comfortable with the idea of standardized testing on the whole by taking all of those different exams. But for each individual test, by constantly switching, you're also having to constantly refresh your training on that particular exam. And oftentimes there's a little bit of a lull or a little bit of a lag in terms of switching over to a new exam and then getting up to speed and getting to where you might have been before. For example, if you take the January SAT, you might be really prepared to do well on the SAT, you take that test, and then you switch gears over to the ACT, your ability for the SAT doesn't stay exactly where it was, because you get so used to the timing on this other test, you get so used to the way that questions are phrased for this other test, your SAT ability and your SAT score will go down a little bit until you get back into SAT mode, and then it'll increase a little bit, but oftentimes because you have that little dip, it's very hard to then increase your score beyond where it was prior to having taken that exam the first time. So my suggestion for students and my suggestion for educators would be advise students to stick with one exam until they feel they've maximized their score on that particular exam. And then and only then is it really appropriate to make the switch over to, if you're switching from SAT to ACT or ACT to SAT, that's your preference, but only once you've completed the maximum score you feel is possible on one test does it make sense to start training for the next standardized test that you'll be taking that incredibly difficult year, junior year of high school. For more, please feel free to check out our other videos and leave commentary. Thanks for watching.